Hi, welcome back. Today I'm very excited because I will be performing a full product review on the latest version of the Orion mPulse micro welder by Sunstone Engineering out of Utah in the US. It is supposed to have revolutionary technology called Tru-Fire Technology, and we're going to put that to the test. I'm going to show you how to assemble and test weld, and we're going to talk about what is behind their touted technology. I hope you enjoy this. So once it has been unboxed, we have these packages. This is the power of the cord, and it doesn't have the big transformer and the extension anymore. You have electrodes. There are 5 of them, plus a sharpener, a pen, bristle brush. I'm going to take one out as I'm ready. This is for argon gas tube, and 2 alligator clips. Just like the Orion PJ, it's got the little one plus a standard one. I'm going to set that aside. I guess these are for the welder. The template, the steel plate where you can test out your welds and know the sizes. It's great to have, but I've never used it. I prefer to practice on my own. So this is the Stylus. Actually, the cord is quite long. This is fantastic. In the other one is a lot shorter. This is a lot longer. I'm going to measure it later. But this will easily work for your anklets. Let's talk about the welder. Here is the body, and it is champagne, a soft champagne color, while the Stylus and the ADL are matte black. When with this, you can place it horizontally or vertically, and the screen will rotate, and we'll look into that in a moment. So first, let's turn this to the back and you can see what it looks like. This is the outlet or the power. And different from the previous model, this has the transformer, which is a box, already built in. In the literature, it says there is built-in power supply. That's not to be mistaken for, say, a rechargeable battery. What it means is the transformer, which is about this size, is already built in, so that all you have to do is plug in this way, and without the transformer maybe getting caught at a table leg or something. So it's just a lot more convenient. And here is the shutter, which is the plug for the ADL. There's a grounding clip, USB key, which I'll talk about a little later for software changes. It's very bougie. The gas for argon, the tube, and then there's an extra ground here, and there are 2 more on the other side. So what we're going to do is turn this on, and you can see. Now I'm going to put the microphone closer and turn it on. This is turned on. Let's take a look at this. I really like the fact that now it says welder off. Before, it was a power button and it was not very clear. So I can turn on and the welder is now on. It's very specific. This is horizontal, and let's take a look at the settings. First, I like it that you can do this or do a slide in power for watts per second. And let's see about this. This is the background. Ooh. So, okay, let's see. So now we've got something very pretty. See how many others are there? Quite a few. And I love it that you can't hear it with a microphone, but there are click sounds. Ooh. These are birds. Okay, let's go back. See how many? There are quite a few. So I won't go through all of them with you here, but let's. This is very happy. Let's go with that. Okay. So we have that. That's the background, and of course this is the locking, so that you don't hit it by accident and get a surprise. Okay, so let's unlock that and see about the settings. Great. There is brightness. Now I've got too much light, filming lights happening, so you can't really tell the difference, but the screen, there's light difference. The scope, the microscope, this is great. You can plug, I don't have the plug at the microscope for this video, but you can plug it in and you can change your settings on that remotely, which is great. And then here is a volume for the welder. Okay. And yes, it makes sounds. It indicates whether or not you've welded, etc. And then here you have, so this is landscape. Yeah. And there's portrait. So I guess the interface will be this way. But let's just keep it back at landscape since I got my camera set like that. Okay. Okay. So, and then here I've got systems. Okay, great. Support access. I guess this is not something you'll ever need. It is for troubleshooting at the head office. If you ever send it in, they can put in their code to take a look. Got out of that. Update welder. Okay, it says here can't find update file. That is the USB key I was talking about, where you download for any software updates. You can just plug it in. I might talk about that a little later. Okay, let's just dismiss that, and we can exit. So there's quite a bit happening that the capabilities are in here that I am not going to talk about here in this video because I don't have access to a lot of those things. And I'll shoot some updates when I am able to get some more info. Okay, so quite a few options here, bells and whistles, and let's get things plugged in welding. So now we're going to plug in the stylus. I'm going to remove the cap. Here's a collet, and I've got an electrode, which I'm going to put in like this. This is the same way as any of the others, any of the other models. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the electrode out a little bit more for filming. And sometimes I measure here. Maybe this is a bit too much, but for filming purposes, maybe we'll leave it like that. And on the other side, see the red dot? With the red dot, let's see, plug this in. Okay, and it's very long, so that's great. Here are the for the grounding clips. Here are the grounding clips. There's another one back there, and basically the reason why there are three is In case you have clips of your own that cannot be piggybacked, I'll show you what I mean. You can actually put another one in here so that you can have multitude of clips, your favorite ones, so you don't have to unplug and replug just so that you can use your favorite grounds. So instead, for the purpose of this filling, I'm going to use the grounded pliers, which are my favorite. So basically, in case you don't have ones where you can piggyback onto like this, you have different, it's a matter of convenience having different ground ports. I'm just going to do that, and we'll get filming. The other thing is I'm going to take this away because I want you to see it. I'm going to use this clip, which comes with the standard Zap Plus, but you can also purchase this separately. So it's not part of the package, is what I'm trying to say. And then that way I can do this and you can see the welds. I've decided to make this vertical, put a dish underneath to prop it up so you can see what is actually happening better while we test weld. But I'm going to take a moment to talk about Tru-Fire Technology. It is their trademark by Sunstone Engineering, and what it is low current ignition. Basically, Orion Pulse Technology and Sunstone Engineering, they've got a huge range of very powerful welders that, for example, the 150S, that can weld from very tiny things, very low power, to all the way to 150 watts. That's very powerful. And what they found that is for permanent jewelry like this, basically you're welding at 2 watts per second to maybe 7-8 watts per second, mostly around 5 to 6. So what ends up happening is it's not as precise. When the whole range of, you're making machines that can weld from tiny to very powerful things, thicker, more powerful, what ends up happening is this section is not as precise. So what they've done is added a chip or component that provides a pre-arc. It is technology that helps the welder to fire more consistently with less miswelds. As a weld is initiated, a small current is passed through the electrode. This current helps to initialize and stabilize the arc as plasma is forming. The small amount of current does add a small amount of total energy to the weld. The ultimate goal of Tru-Fire Technology is consistency in weld fires. So every time a weld is triggered, a weld is accomplished. Another major advancement is the length of the stylus. It is 6 feet, whereas in the past, the maximum length was only 3 feet. And if you wanted longer to make it easier to weld, say, an anklet, you would have to have an extension, which is essentially something like this that you would clip onto it to make it a lot longer. And that advancement has to do with solenoid and the bundling of wires. I don't know exactly how they're doing it, but in this case, they're able to extend it with ease, and it is very durable and fires consistently. So that's great. I'm going to take a moment and show you what's back here. These are the safety certifications. It's UL Standard Safety Certified CSA and CE certified. Just to let you know, mPulse, the Orion, is the only welder that is certified with all of those. It's generally not a problem, except perhaps if you are in countries like Canada and certain ones in Europe where that is an important thing for insurance. Okay, let's start by welding 24 gauge gold filled and see how we like it. And I'm going to do it at 6 watts. Okay, it felt really good. It's just smooth. Now, let's see if I can get you a closer look. And let's test this out. Okay, so it worked beautifully. I'm not using argon gas. There we go. And it is completely secure. There's no argon gas used here. And I love it that it did not warp. There we go. Let's see. Excellent. That is perfect. Let's try something heavier. This is 18 gauge sterling silver. I'm going to try 15 watts and see how many times I need to weld. See if you can see that. Okay. It's closed. Ooh, okay. I should have used pair of pliers holding the other end. Excellent. And again, that is very smooth at the top. Let's clean this. That is really good. That was one. The first time I didn't touch it properly because I was a little bit nervous, but really true contact was once, 15 watts, and that sealed it. And that's, I have to say, that is a beautiful weld. You see this? This completely filled up. And when it was one weld, you don't see a seam. You do see a seam from the side. So what you have to do, because we're not using solder, is to tack weld on this side if you don't want that line. But that is very smooth. So I'm just going to try doing that. Yeah. And that's very nice. And I have no explanation as to why it's so smooth without argon, but there it is. Okay. Now, let's try welding this stud at 20 watts. And this has a base. Oh, that's good. I'm not using argon. And I would recommend it when you are welding such heavy things to use argon. So all I'm doing is I test out to see how well it holds. And I'm liking it. Make sure I've got it all the way around. See that? That is very good. Okay, so let's see if I can bend it and take it off. No, I can't. That's great. Maybe I can actually do a button out of this. Okay, so I've been bending it back and forth and it's staying. So that's good. I guess I can make a button out of that. So I find that at high wattage, this Tru-Fire technology is surprisingly smooth, and I'm going to clean it and give you a still photo in a bit. But it is surprisingly smooth, consistent, and I like how good it feels when welding. I have noticed that different power settings weld differently on various models. So I asked the Sunstone engineers, and this is their explanation. Weld settings are a measure of the unit's output. All Orion machines measure the weld output in joules or watt seconds. This is a measure of power output over time. It represents the watts output every 1 second. Watts are calculated by amperage multiplied by voltage. Each of the Orion welding systems have a different peak voltage depending on the configuration of electronics. Comparing specifically the Orion PJ and the new Orion mPulse, the Orion PJ operates at a higher voltage. This is due to the lower overall capacity of the machine, maximum of 15 joules. This means that the same weld setting will require less current to accomplish the output. Higher peak voltage welds hotter at the same settings and therefore need to be turned down to accomplish an identical weld melt spot. Comparing the old mPulse, the weld settings of the new mPulse 2.0 will be similar as the weld voltage is similar. But Tru-Fire technology in the new mPulse will add a slight increase in weld energy, so a very slight increase in spot size at the same exact weld. Overall, I find the new mPulse to be luxurious. Not only is it bougier with all the bells and whistles, it does give you a smoother and more consistent weld, which feels even better. I hope you found that useful, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I really appreciate the support. Also, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below what city you are actually watching my video from.